So I thought I'd just get this one down before I forget. So I was talking to one of the guys from Jiu-Jitsu the other day, and we were talking about what it is that attracts people to Jiu-Jitsu, because it's Jiu-Jitsu as a martial art is kind of new. It's only been around maybe 50 years, in the public eye, and now there's schools all over the planet. There's people from all walks of life and all age groups and all socioeconomic backgrounds and cultures, and it's so diverse. And it's like, well, what is it that attracts these people? And we were thinking about it because we do a lot of work with people and working with their mind, and one of the things that came up is that when you're rolling, especially when you take striking out of the equation and you can actually spar without getting hit and shocked, your system isn't getting shocked, you're actually getting time to work on these emotions that are kind of primal, and in today's day and age where everything is technological and you can communicate with your thumbs to people all over the planet instantly, and in a sense we've got these prosthetic telepathic devices that can send not only voice or text but whole imagery, movies, sound, everything that and even you can feel vibration in the phone too now, and it's only becoming more and more immersive. But the problem is, we still feel a fear response, we still feel a stress response that is mostly, depending on where you live, of course, is unrelated to your physical existence, right? So all these primal systems that kept you alive, that the fight, flight, freeze response, for example, kept you alive if you were being hunted by an animal, or if you were another tribe was trying to kill your tribe. These are very useful systems to have inside the biological energy system, the body-mind system. But in today's day and age, the threat to your physicality is really, it still happens obviously, but it's not as likely. The potential isn't the percentage for the potential is not as high, especially in Australia in today. You can pretty much avoid most physical altercations. I was just hearing today, social media is maybe ruining our society, but at least people are fighting over social media. They're not fighting physically, so that's a good thing. But you still have all these responses, these emotions. The primal system of fight, flight, freeze still gets activated, even though there is no physical threat to you. Someone flames you online or sends you a nasty email, and you still feel the response, but there's no chance of getting hit or hurt or whatever. So I think with Jiu-Jitsu especially, and any martial art, I think anyone should learn a martial art. It's like learning languages, right? You need at least a language to function and speak your mind in the world and show up as how you choose to be rather than how society says you should be. But Jiu-Jitsu is interesting because it allows you time to go into all those emotions and work with them and through them. Like the higher belts, the guys and girls that have been rolling for years, you look at some of the pressure that they're put under in some of the rolls, and a new person would usually tap out to that kind of pressure, but they seem totally comfortable and at ease dealing with those types of stressors, those stimuli that puts you into those primal system responses. And so this is something that you don't really get to practice in a day-to-day life, and I think what most people are doing is they're sort of unconsciously, or at least putting on the mask that everything's okay, but really they're hoping and they're strategizing, and their personalities are doing things hoping that they're going to survive if and when an altercation happens. And chances are there's very little likelihood of you getting into one, so there's even less chance of you working through those emotions and practicing how to deal with them and override them. And so a lot of people, this anxiety that people feel, I've got anxiety, I'm depressed. And I think part of it is because when you're not accessing those systems and dealing with them and allowing them to change and evolve and upgrade, you get sort of, the gap between your response ability, your ability to respond, and the potential of something bad happen gets larger and larger and larger, and you can feel yourself disconnecting from this ability to get amongst life and thrive, and deal with adversity and overcome, potentially bad situations. And so what a lot of people do instead is that they avoid a lot of shit. They don't speak their mind, they don't speak up, they try to befriend people that they don't even want to know. They laugh at jokes that aren't funny just so people's like, don't hurt me. And so there's lots of this avoidance and protection, really at a really subtle layer, showing up in all sorts of weird places, where if you're able to deal with these emotions on a regular basis and practice them and get comfortable with them, and maybe even use them to propel you towards your goals and dreams, and deal with the problems that you have in life, rather than spending your whole life in avoidance, other than in places that are completely safe and completely known, and just have this safe little bubble, this comfort zone that isn't really comfortable. It's just safe because it's completely boring and there's absolutely no risk there. And to really live life, you need to get into the unknown. You need to take those risks, and you need to get skilled at taking risks and dealing with whatever comes up. And people who professional athletes or world champion fighters in whatever discipline, these people, I'm not saying it's easy, definitely not easy, but they're well versed in these emotions that most people avoid. And so it's no wonder that there's these huge stadiums and people are paying, there's millions of dollars going over the airways for pay-per-views and stuff, where people get to witness and at least get their mirror neurons fired off in watching other people go through that process, and they get a little sample, a little taste of maybe what it would be like if they were to possibly sometime in the future, probably not ever, step into a role like that. And so when you go to a school, I know it can be kind of intimidating and scary at first, not because people in there are going to hurt you, there are your McDojos, you've all heard about that, but it's like there's bad mechanics and there's bad dentists and there's bad lawyers, and there's bad of everything. But there's a lot of good people who really want to help you get through these emotions, so you can become more resilient and stronger within yourself and confident within yourself, and strip away all this unnecessary anxiety that really all it comes down to is that maybe you just haven't really stepped into that emotion and really felt it out. And what I found, and when I talk to people who, especially the first time doing competitions, or they've just starting in competition, and even people who are at top level, and there's because the level grows as you grow, and as you get better, the opposition gets better, so it becomes harder. But they there's always those emotions that come up that have to be dealt with and felt. And so when you get to practice all these feelings, when you get into it, and you're actually in the present moment, in acting in that bout, that fight, for example, that tournament, it's nothing like what you imagined it to be. It's its own experience, and it's something you can't imagine. You can have an idea of what it might be like, but when you get in there, it's unique, and some people come into it and they go, oh, it was really difficult, and I have to do some more training to get my emotions in check and be comfortable in those environments. And other people go, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. All the anxiety and the fear and the doubts, insecurity, and all that stuff, it was all in my mind. And when I actually got in there, it was a lot easier than I expected, which is a great outcome if that's what happens to you. And so you transfer that into life, because okay, now doing jiu-jitsu, you're skilled, you can do all these movements and you can defend yourself physically and all that sort of stuff, but it transfers the pattern, the neurology that forms to be able to deal with those situations, transfers into day-to-day life, dealing with your business, your relationships, your finances, your social settings, all sorts of things, goals that you've set, and overcoming adversity, just life in general, life throwing shit at you. It allows you to practice resilience. It allows you to practice overcoming that adversity. It allows you to stay cool under pressure. It allows you to keep your head when all others are losing theirs. It allows you to feel those uncomfortable emotions, and it allows you to also be part of a community who are all doing the same sort of thing, and who are all going through what you go through as well. And then you can talk about it, and you can share your experiences, and you can say, this is what I did to get through it. Maybe this will help you. And maybe when you're stuck, you can go to the higher belts, for example, as the metaphor goes, and they can just give you the solution, because they've trained in it a long time, and now it's just one of those skills under the belt. And so when your responsibility, your ability to respond increases, and your emotional intelligence increases, and your mindset starts to shift and alter, and your body becomes more stronger and more mobile and flexible, and the body-mind connection becomes more efficient, and you can act from your spirit, so to speak. You can channel your energy towards specific potentials in the quantum field. Then that's a powerful skill. And why not learn that in a setting like a martial arts school, like a jiu-jitsu class, where as a byproduct of learning all that, while you're focusing on learning jiu-jitsu, you can also learn how to defend yourself. You can also learn how to move your body in every which possible way, and interact with other bodies, different bodies, moving in every which possible way. And so that's not something like in school, where you're focusing on the left brain, it's all academia, or you're focusing on art and sports maybe, where it's all right brain and creativity. There's a blending of the two, because you have to be strategic and you have to think about what you're doing, and you have to make certain steps and get to positions and get out of certain positions using your tools and techniques. And then you also have to be creative to see opportunities when they're there, or to create opportunities that aren't there. And while this is all going on, the left and the right brain are communicating with each other, because they have to deal with the survival fight, flight, freeze response, and to get into a thinking, out of fight, flight, freeze, and into a thinking mind, or a knowing mind, an experiential mind. And the corpus callosum, the bundle of nerves between the left and the right brain hemispheres, starts to become stronger. And as those connections become stronger, the neural networks on both sides of the brain become stronger, and you start to become more and more aware of all of these different potentials and possibilities. And so I had a brief conversation with world champion who's training with us at the moment. For how long, we don't know, but hopefully stays a little bit longer than expected. And I said to him, what kind of question, because we had Q&A, and I said to him afterwards, what kind of question have you not been asked yet that you would like to be asked, so you could talk about something you haven't talked about before? And he just went, I don't know. He said, but whenever someone asks me a question, no matter what it is, I answer it the way I want to answer it. I take it to where I want to go, and I talk about what I want to talk about. And that's a pretty powerful answer. It's kind of like, if that's the way you think, and it doesn't matter what life throws at you, good, bad, indifferent. If you get lemons, you make lemonade. If you get a good opportunity, you embrace it, and you're grateful for it, and you make it better and share it. So there's this undertone of being able to navigate from anywhere to where you want to go, and to be able to hold that in your mind long enough to find the pathway there, which is really fascinating, because that's not only collapsing potential realities into existence, which is a navigation skill, but that's also doing it while something or someone is trying to resist you and fight you back to create an alternative outcome. And so, not only are you navigating well, but you're navigating while defending and attacking, and or maybe just focusing on the path of least resistance, the movement of no movement, so to speak. So there you go. There's a bit of a rant. Just wanted to speak that out now. I don't know if I'll post this, but there you go. Food for thought.